Hey, good evening, all. That was a remarkable time lapse from earlier this afternoon. We were looking at sheets of stratocumulus about 5,000 feet off the ground, drifting northward, or actually a little bit more northeast, and we can see that on this International Cloud Atlas from the WMO. This is a low cloud, type 5, so it's basically your garden variety stratocumulus, and they've got a few examples of that in their Cloud Atlas. So it's well worth a look. Where's that coming from? Well, let me take a look. Let me see if I can replay some of that. Yeah, there you go. You can see the darker bands out to the southwest of us. And this is being caused by a little bit of isentropic lift over this cold air mass coming from the south. And we'll be able to take a look at this on the charts. I'm going to pull up a few of those using the College DuPage website. So let me do that while you're looking at that footage. College DuPage, they've probably got the better isentropic weather analysis site. This is at weather.cod.edu. And you just go to Weather Analysis Tools and look at the analysis data. And that's going to be under this isentropic maps link right here. And let's see, what are we going to pick here? What we should do is look at the soundings for this afternoon for the Fort Worth area. This will give us kind of a rough idea of what layer we need to be looking at. Now, let's see, 5,000 or 6,000. That's going to be up at about 800 millibars. So what we do is we just pull up a sample, and we're looking at the 294. This is at 875. That's a little bit low, so let's go a little bit higher to 298. Or, I'm sorry. Let's see here. 850. I guess we're looking at 300 to 305. Yeah, there we go. That's probably about the best we can do. So you can see that the lines coming through here, 775. That's about in the ballpark. Let's try this one right here. This is the 300 Kelvin map. 850. Yeah, there we go. So there's 850 line. This is up at 5,000 feet. And we can see that the wind flow is humid, and it's out of the southwest. So it's basically ascending over the cold air mass. And that's the big reason we didn't clear out very well behind this cold front. So let's take a look at the large-scale picture. This is the jet stream pattern around the hemisphere. And North Pole is located right there. I guess they're finishing up the presents up there. We've got about 3 major long waves. I would say probably one out here in the Pacific, and possibly another one along the East Coast. And then maybe a third one maybe located in this area right here of the southern former Russian republics. So 3 major long waves. That probably spells a non-progressive pattern. The patterns kind of stay kind of locked down. So we're going to probably see a continuation of this long wave trough off the coast. Same thing out east, and just kind of a stagnant weather pattern. Looks like a bit of a blocking high there in Europe. Zooming down further, let's look at the upper air pattern for the U.S. See, normally with these webcasts, what I do is I start with a surface chart and I look at the air masses. We're going to do something different here and look at the upper air chart. So this is the 0-hour chart, 500 millibars, 18,000 feet, showing pretty zonal pattern. Jet stream from the northern Pacific through the Great Lakes area and off the coast of Newfoundland. And we have a couple of cutoff lows. One is off the California coast right there. And a couple of small waves. There's one right there over Washington, and possibly another one out in this area off the coast. And you will see as we go forward in time that this wave here approaches the coast, and it kind of causes this cutoff flow to open up. And when that cutoff flow opens up, we get a bit of a trough moving into the southern plains. So that'll affect our weather on Christmas Eve. Then we have this big slug of energy coming onto the coast that's probably going to be a rainmaker for California around Christmas. And you can see that moves inland, and it affects the southern and central plains on Christmas. Now, in the wake of it, we have another trough developing, descending down the California coast. And look at that, it parks itself off California. And we've got a cutoff flow right there. But hey, here comes a trough. So that cutoff flow is not there for long. The other trough approaches, and this one opens up and passes over the Great Plains on the 30th, the day before New Year's Eve. And this tries to park itself, so you can kind of see what's going on. Kind of a stagnant pattern. Troughs trying to develop cutoff flows in this favored area in the southwestern U.S. Very common cold season pattern there. And the other thing you can see here over the period, kind of a zonal pattern. We don't have that very strong northerly flow. We did pick up a few days of that around the 30th, I think. Yeah, right there. This is around, New Year's Eve. Very strong northerly flow, but it's not all that pervasive. You can see that breaks down by the 2nd and 3rd of January. So we're going to see a lot more of these systems coming out of the Pacific, and not as many coming out of Canada. And I did look at the CFS forecast. They expected a change in this around the 15th of January. Around the 15th, pushing a big norther southward. And the CFS did kind of get the Christmas forecast right, so we might have to kind of take that into account for mid-January. Okay, let's look at the patterns across the U.S. And before I do that, I'm going to start with the surface chart. It looks like you guys are getting a sneak peek at the Digital Atmosphere 2017 under development right now. I was working on that pretty late last night. I don't know if I have that all fixed, but let me see if I can pull down some data with that. We'll grab the 8 p.m. observations here. And let's see if we can plot those. Okay, there we go. There's the surface plots for the U.S. Maybe I'll make that a little bit more dense. Throw a few more. No, that's probably a little too much. Let me fix that. Okay, so for here in Texas, there it is. There's the very cloudy weather there. You can see we're a bit on the mild side, and we're picking up a little bit of that southerly flow off the Texas coast. My escape key is not working, so let me pull up the old digital atmosphere. I'll get that working for you real quick. And here comes the data. Looks pretty mild in Alaska there. So no more of the minus 20 and minus 30 up there. We've got above freezing conditions there. So kind of a change from this Arctic weather pattern we've had. Going down into Texas, there we go, southeastern U.S. This is all the large decaying polar air mass that's kind of modifying and stagnating. And we're getting a little bit of that isentropic ascent over Texas. That's given a little bit of this cloud cover we're seeing in this area. California coast and Arizona also pretty mild. You can see 68 there in Phoenix, 44 in Las Vegas. Not a whole lot going on there. And the Pacific coast, looking pretty quiet there. A little bit on the cool side there in the interior of Washington. However, unusually warm for the lee side, so we still got the strong downslope winds coming off the northern Rockies into places like Great Falls, Cardston, Edmonton, Calgary. So we're going to see a little bit of that on the forecast model chart. So let's go ahead and get into that. Kind of wasted a little bit of time there trying to get the surface plots going, so let's check it out. We're doing the 1,000 through 850 millibar chart. So we're taking a little bit closer look at the very lower parts of the troposphere. So that's given us a cold front kind of like that. And maybe a weak warm front in Northern California right there. And looks like another cold front there in central Canada. That could be the start of a Alberta clipper right there. So that's the basic pattern, and if we go up and look at more of the lower troposphere, look at 1,000 through 500 millibars, it's going to look like this. So we don't see that cold front as well in Texas. We know it's down here, but it's just not showing up there on that particular chart. The California chart, however, California region, that is showing that warm front a little bit better. Okay, let's see. I think that's about all I got for the analysis. Pretty quiet evening, so let's see who we got in chat. Got Alexi and Andrew, Kevin, Grant, Ron. So hello to all of you, and will there be severe weather on Christmas? That's a good question. We'll check that out as we go through the charts. Grant says they're calling for thunderstorms in Kansas for Christmas. Yeah, Cape has been a major problem with each of these return flow episodes. And we're talking about the moisture coming northward. Normally what we have when we have these systems coming out of the Rockies, like you see right here, there's usually a band of moisture that works northward from the Gulf. And that tends to be critical in setting up the area for instability. However, we have not seen very much moisture make it northward, especially into Alabama and Georgia. Several days ago, we had maybe capes of 1,000 joules per kilogram along the coast, which is barely adequate to support thunderstorms. So let's see what the GFS is going for in terms of Cape. Let me bring that up real quick. Severe weather, surface-based Cape, that's not the optimal one to use. But I guess we have no choice. Sometimes you just have to take what you can get. Okay, so our chart is loading up, and we'll get an idea of the return flow coming northward. '24th, 25th, and there it comes up, 26th, and you can see the leading edge of the front coming into Texas right there. And we barely came out of the gray, so we're talking 250 joules per kilogram. That's not going to be enough to support severe weather. The other thing we should look at is the dew points. We'll see what kind of dew points are coming north into Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. Okay, so we're waiting for a few of these frames to load. Okay, now we're up to Christmas Eve. You can see 60s coming up into Texas. Yeah, 66 at Lufkin, 65. That is actually a little bit better. And I can see lower 60s coming up in Kansas. So actually what we're concerned with here is elevated moisture. And I don't have a good indicator for upper level CAPE. What we really need to be using here is most unstable CAPE. And we're, of course, looking at this area for Kansas City. I would say with these 60s dew points coming northward at the surface, yeah, there probably is going to be a little bit of a possibility of some severe weather. We'll have to kind of keep that in mind. I don't think we had 60s make it that far north with the previous outbreaks. So maybe you all know some model sites that compute the mid-level CAPE a little bit better. I don't have any in my list here, but that would be one thing you would look at. So let's go ahead and take a look at the general forecast, and we're going to look at the GFS and see what's going to happen over the next few weeks, or the next couple weeks. There's our current picture. We know the cold front is well to the south, and just kind of a stagnating pattern across the Midwest U.S., and there's the lee side trough there in the northern high plains. For our webcast tomorrow on Wednesday, getting a little bit of a Pacific cold air mass coming into Idaho and Wyoming and Utah, and that'll increase the cold air advection a little bit in the Central Plains and drive down a little reinforcement of cold air into Oklahoma and Texas. Other than that, pretty quiet across the U.S. For Thursday, the rest of that cold air drives southward, and you can see the tightest bands of thickness are concentrated in this area here. So we're looking at the basic cold front zone to be in this area, and that's going to be a ripe location for isentropic lift in Texas. And that's one reason we're getting a little bit of this precipitation in the southwestern U.S. We can see that riding up over Texas as we get warm air advection developing. This is on Friday. Then Christmas Eve looks like this. We get pretty strong warm air advection across the Central Plains. And here comes our Pacific system. Looks to be a pretty good punch of energy coming through Nevada, Utah, and Arizona. And around this time, we may start seeing the dry line setting up in West Texas, probably in this area right here. Usually the first bit of return flow comes up the Rio Grande, kind of in this area, and then it builds like that. Then for Christmas, system rapidly moves into the Central Plains. So that's going to be located about right here. Warm front all the way to Wisconsin and Minnesota. And the dry line is probably going to be running something like that, probably being undercut. And the low 60s dew points will probably be up in this area here. So yeah, we're probably going to kind of watch this for the possibility of some thunderstorms in maybe at least up to Missouri and Oklahoma. Maybe southeast Kansas. Again, that's going to depend on how much moisture we have present. But you can see in the wraparound here, very strong indicator of blizzard conditions, and that's going to be Sunday night into Monday. There you can see that right there. That's going to affect Bismarck to Fargo to the area north of Minneapolis. And by Monday, that moves pretty quickly into the Ontario region. Very strong cold air advection coming in the backside. And a little bit of a reinforcement of cold air into Texas. Tuesday next week, the main high pressure moves in. Not very extensive, and we have the lee side trough once again developing in Montana and Wyoming. Then for Thursday, a little bit of an Alberta clipper moving southward right there. And then we find it down in this area here on the 30th. And then on New Year's Eve, that drives southward, and then we have a new area of frontogenesis and cyclogenesis in the southeast U.S. So showing rainy there for Mississippi and Alabama to the Atlanta area, and that'll move quickly eastward. And other than that, it looks like a pretty dry and quiet day. Don't see a whole lot else going on, and that's probably about all I have for this presentation. You can see on the 3rd and 4th of January, looks like a major system for the northeast U.S., but that's very far out. We would probably have to look at more model data before we know that's going to happen. Okay, yeah, ready for Christmas? Yeah, I am. I'm looking forward to hanging out with the family, and I'll be traveling a bit, and this presentation will probably be a little bit interesting. I'm probably going to meet up with one of my friends in Rowlett who survived that tornado out there, and we'll probably do a retrospective of that outbreak using GR Level 2 and maybe some video. And we might go to San Antonio also at some point towards New Year's. So yeah, definitely hang around and check out this webcast, and should have some fun over the next few weeks. Anyway, I appreciate you all joining, and I'll be back at the usual time, 8 o'clock tomorrow, and hope to see you then. Have a good one.